Hi all, and welcome to talk about inclusion in hiring. In this session, I will tell you why inclusion is important in hiring and how to increase it and avoid exclusion and biases while recruiting. I also want to thank you for having me here in React Finland with you, and thank you beforehand for your interest. Just briefly about me, my name is Emmi Marjetta. I'm talent acquisition and employee branding manager at HoxHunt, and I have been working with talent acquisition for the past 10 years, focusing on technology field and especially in cybersecurity. And now let's dive into the subject. My agenda consists of two steps. Firstly, I will talk about why would we need inclusion, why it's important in hiring, and then I will tell you a few practical steps how to increase it when recruiting. So firstly, why inclusion is important in hiring. I think that one important angle to think about is that diversity and inclusion will attract wider amount of talent for your reach. So there will be more candidates who would be interested about your company when you would take them into account and think about their needs and what really speaks to them. So therefore, the companies who are taking actions towards inclusion are most likely the ones who will be making the top hires because they attract the widest group possible in the talent market. So also, I have gathered here a few numbers for you to see regarding the subject. I have selected a Harvard business study from 2019 here, and it showed that when people feel belonging towards their work, they are more productive, engaged, and 3.5 times more likely to contribute their fullest potential. And that belonging is very important, and that can be reached through inclusion by taking different needs and different views and experiences into account. And I think that the full potential is what we are really seeking for when we are hiring, when we are nurturing the existing talent. And that's really important to note that inclusion has a big impact on that. The another report that I wanted to highlight is made by McKinsey. It was published in 2020 and it's called Diversity Wins. And it showed in the analysis, and by the way, the data consists of 15 countries, over 1,000 companies, so it's very wide. And it showed that the companies in the top quartile for gender diversity on executive teams were 25% more likely to have above average profitability than companies who were lacking in that area and being in the fourth quarter. So that's also very interesting. And yeah, important to highlight that inclusion really creates a feeling of belonging into the company, and that is a one key element of the high performance. What then are the practical steps that you can utilize and take into account when increasing inclusion in your recruitment work? I have gathered a few practical steps here for you to see, and I will talk them through for you. But firstly, I wanted to just point out that it's also important to think about What does inclusion mean to you personally and in your organization at the moment? And is that a topic that has been taken into account for some time now, or is that something that could be strengthened and maybe established, or what is like the starting point for you personally also, and for the company you work at? And you can also set up some concrete goals toward certain talent groups. If there are certain individuals you know that are working among the positions you would like to attract, but you are not having established connection to them, that might be a good concrete goal that you can start to think about. Yeah, so good practical steps are, I think, considering narrative and visual images. And when we think about narrative, for example, all organizations have their own language and narrative towards the outer world, towards the talents. So if you or anyone would like to attract diverse individuals, the language narrative should also be taken into account, not being too vague about what is seeked and what kind of talent is needed. A good example about this is job titles. And some time ago, it was quite fashionable to seek out for ninjas or rock stars or superheroes of some kind. And those might be seen as examples of a little bit misleading titles, not so clear for the talent audience, and that's why those might attract only quite a narrow talent pool. So being clear in the narrative is one thing, but also thinking about gender sensitivity, that's also another subject I wanted to highlight. And if we think about beyond pronouns like he or she, there are also some words that could be clearly masculine or feminine. And creating inclusion with language is called gender sensitive language, and it's promoted by, for example, European Institute of Gender Diversity. And for example, job ads, if we think about those, the words, for example, like determined, challenger type, greedy for success, those might be seen as more masculine ones. And words such as cooperative, supportive, sensitive, those might be seen as more feminine ones. So the gender sensitive language is also good to take into account when writing job ads or social media posts, or creating the narrative for the talent group in some other ways. And also the visual images. They should also speak to a wider group of talents. So it's good to take into account whether those include diverse individuals, or whether they have been maybe by a mistake selected to represent only certain types of individuals, even though your company might have a large employee base of different kinds of individuals. So good to take that visual world also into account. And when you are meeting with the talents, of course, you want to be fair and compare them in the fairest possible way. So there, the structured interview template is a good starting point. And what does that mean? It means that you will have the same key questions or key criteria to each candidate, and you give them scores according to those. Then you are able to make comparison in the fair way. So examples about structured interview questions could be maybe, for example, tell me how you would handle some specific challenge that is occurring in this position, and then you could describe the challenge. What could it be in the position you are hiring for? Or maybe to ask the candidate to tell about the favorite software, what are the features in it, and how would the candidate describe it to a person who doesn't have any technical knowledge, or at least is not up to the talents level. So those might be some examples, and there are much more. If you want to dive into those, you will find much more examples and good practical tips when you search for structured interview. So yeah, then when you seek for talent, if your company is doing a direct search, there could be some goals to include certain amount of variety into those profiles. That could at least be a good way to remind ourselves to keep the talent search diverse. And also think about if you are posting job ads or social media posts about openings, where to post them, that if there are some channels that those talents belonging maybe to minority groups of your field might be looking for, just to support them and making sure that they will also see those openings. And once you have the talent within your company, it's good to make sure that there are enough equal career possibilities, so you will have the best possible chances to keep the talent growing within your organization. And to summarize this, what would inclusion bring when you enhance it in hiring? It will give you more candidates, more engagement, and more productivity. You will be able to attract a much wider group of individuals. Once they're employed, they will be more engaged, and they will most likely drive themselves forward and try to achieve as good results as possible. And how you can achieve that in hiring, I would recommend you to try to think about clear, neutral language, and think about whether the visual images are inclusive and speak to the wider audience in the talent market, and also to include some structure for your interview, even though if you would like to have a casual chat that we all would of course enjoy when discussing with candidates or when being in the job interview situation. There is always room for that casual nice chat, but some structure is also very good to be added, so you can compare candidates in the fair way. So I think this was what I wanted to say to you at this point. I really thank you for your time and for your interest. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer those. And thank you. I wish you a very nice rest of the day.
I have few questions for you from the comments. Okay, so the first one is, will you be inclusive to people who don't agree with you or your agenda? Yeah, your with you or your agenda, your worldview. So your view, how do you take this?
I think this is very good question, also quite interesting and complex question. I think maybe in this context, the agenda and worldview might be seen when we are thinking about business contexts, maybe the values of the company or the ethical aspects. And of course, I think there are some blockers in there which you cannot just go around, even if you would like to be as inclusive you possibly can. Of course, there are some obstacles that might still hinge if the person's worldview in this sense, maybe values are conflicting with the ones in the company, for example, equality and behavioral code and something like that. So I think those are both be taking into account. I think you're muted, Manjula.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No
Okay,
worries.
so this next question is, most of you spoke about maximizing potential. What if maximizing potential ended up in a group that doesn't obey your diversity or inclusion? Will you swap out good candidates for their skin color?
Another very good question. And I would just love to also ask these questions in front of the whole organization, going up to the leader level, because this is such an important thing to think about, that when you enhance inclusion, will you be securing the company culture and everything other good things that you want to keep? So not just thinking about that, yeah, we want tick minority boxes. It's not inclusion really. It's just like, well, ticking the boxes. But when you give possibilities to different kinds of individuals, and you sort of invite them to the party and also invite them for a dance, that's inclusion. And then also there are some values and codes of conduct, for example, that also needs to happen. So I don't wish that this is a swap for anything, but just to giving possibilities to everybody and treating everybody equally.
Thank you for that. And we have the next one. So we often make sure to ask candidate about their views on diversity and inclusion. Can you share some tips on how we can frame these questions to know more from them?
This is also super good tip for everybody to sort of put in the agenda when meeting candidates or other members in the technology field. I think that what we usually do in my organization is that we sort of showcase the projects we have been doing when we have been tried to promote minorities to enter, for example, the technology field. For example, we have been supported women or people identified themselves as women who want to enter in the technology field from another field. So they are career changers, and we have created webinars for them and showed them some supportive content. So we have showcased that when we have met candidates and sort of created a discussion around that actual example, and then got the views how the candidate was feeling about that, and whether that excited the candidate or what kind of thoughts it raised.